person who dealt him the drug.
I'm angry. I want justice.
Jesus might forgive him. I won't.
Prime time for possibly the last time. The January 6th committee prepares to go into detail on how former President Trump responded once rioters breached the Capitol.
I overheard the president say something to the effect of, I don't effing care that they have weapons. They're not here to hurt me.
And President Biden is still working and says he's feeling fine, despite the recent COVID-19 diagnosis.
I've been double vaccinated, double boosted. Symptoms are mild.
And first at 5, we're talking about sweat. All right, more specifically, we're talking about the heat that's already taking over Colorado. We've seen 2 wildfires already pop up this afternoon in our state, west of La Junta, another one near Wiggins, and it will only get hotter this weekend. Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us for Denver 7 News at 5. I'm Ann Trujillo.
I'm Shannon Ogden, joined also by Chief Meteorologist Mike Nelson. So just how hot are we talking about here?
Well, we hit 98 today. We'll get at least to 100 tomorrow. And some of the eastern plains may get to about 105 or 6 tomorrow afternoon. So there is a heat advisory in effect, and that goes through tomorrow evening. These are the highs so far. Now the readings might actually bump up another degree or so because it's pretty sunny in most locations across eastern Colorado. Temperatures have cooled only at Sterling, where they had a thunder shower move through. Ray's still 102, and out west it's 100 degrees at Grand Junction. Humidities are pretty low most locations except Sterling, where they did have that little shower go by, and a little bit higher humidity where there's a brief shower up around the Fort Collins area. But this is the heat advisory in effect for Friday, all of northeastern Colorado. You can see a scattering of showers and thunderstorms around, but these will offer only very brief relief from any of the heat, and there'll be fewer of them expected for tomorrow. For the most part, they look like this as they come off of the foothills. Get a couple of dark clouds, a little bit of virga, but that is about it. So the weather headlines, it is going to be very hot tomorrow. Temperature around 100 degrees, which will actually be just a couple shy of the record. Some storms come in Saturday, but it's still hot, just not quite as bad. The heat breaks on Sunday, and cooler, wetter weather's coming up next week. I'll have your full 7-day in about 20 minutes.
All right, we'll see you in 20. Thank you, Mike. Well, tonight people are expected to gather at the state capitol about 6 o'clock to protest Denver police.
And Denver 7 CB Cotton is there, and CB protesters you have spoken with just want police to take accountability for injuring 6 bystanders in that shooting last weekend.
And Shannon, that's right. The rally is expected to get underway at 6 this evening. No one has gathered here yet, but I want to talk about what led up to today's demonstration. Denver police say 3 of their officers fired 7 shots after they say a suspect flashed his gun at officers. We do know the suspect never fired his gun, but officers did fire theirs as crowds of people exited bars during the busy downtown area. And I want to go deeper into what happened. So we know, as you said, 6 innocent bystanders were injured. The suspect was also wounded, but all of those people are expected as of now to be okay. And during yesterday's press briefing with Denver Police, Commander Matt Clark said his officers fired because they feared for their lives and the lives of their fellow officers. 2 of the bystanders who were injured, we spoke with them yesterday, and they said they want accountability. Today's rally is organized in part by the Democratic Socialist of America, or DSA. They're demanding body camera of the shooting be released. DPD has released still shots from the body cam footage, but said the footage itself can't be released while the incident is being investigated. DSA feels that's not transparent.
Denver has paid for these cameras that were supposed to turn on as the moment that a weapon was taken out of an officer's holster, and now we know that there isn't even that much body camera footage to begin with.
Denver Mayor Michael Hancock released a statement Wednesday calling for patience as the investigation plays out. And Police Chief Paul Pazin has called his department a, quote, learning agency. He's also said they'll try to improve. Rally organizers feel Denver police should have learned after the protest that happened during the summer of 2020.
Their learning has already cost the city $14 million in response to how they handled the 2020 protests. And this Sunday morning, it cost 7 people trips to the hospital. So I don't know how much more learning they expect or how much grace they expect the community to give.
And again, right now, not many people have gathered here on the Capitol steps, but we know things are expected to get underway at 6 o'clock this evening. I can tell you right now I do see an increased law enforcement presence. We can see several state troopers out here on the Capitol steps and making a perimeter around the state capitol. Of course, we're going to be monitoring things as they continue throughout the evening. For now, reporting live from the steps of the state capitol, I'm CB Cotton, Denver 7.
And CB, I know you'll keep us up to date on what's happening out there. Thank you. An Inglewood officer shot at a man who nearly hit another officer with a stolen SUV while taking off from a burglary early this morning. That burglary was first reported at a business south of Ruby Hill in Denver. No officers were hurt in that shooting. Neither was the suspect, 34-year-old Lars Bowen. He was taken into custody and now faces multiple charges, including burglary and attempted first-degree murder. Another arrest warrant has been issued for Mesa County Clerk Tina Peters for violating the terms of her bond.
Now, this time Peters is accused of violating the terms of her protection order by emailing the designated election official for Mesa County. Peters is prohibited from doing that after she was removed as an election official for allegedly tampering with election equipment. Now, earlier this month, Peters also violated her bond by traveling out of state. A judge for that let her off with a warning. Now, President Biden has tested positive for COVID-19. He put a video out on Twitter saying he only has mild symptoms and is working from the White House residence. The White House says the president will isolate for 5 days and return to public events once he tests negative.
Anticipation is building tonight for what's expected to be the last primetime hearing by the January 6th committee. ABC reporter Jay O'Brien is joining us live right now in Washington, D.C.
And Jay, committee members pledging to show minute by minute how the White House responded when rioters breached the Capitol that day.
Exactly right. Good evening. Committee members are promising to unveil new evidence that they say will take you inside the Trump White House and show that former President Donald Trump was made aware of the violence inside the Capitol by his supporters and did nothing to stop it.
Hours before the 8th hearing of the House Select Committee investigating the January 6th Capitol attack, Representative Adam Kinzinger, one of the panel's 2 Republicans, posting this video.
It's my understanding he was watching television.
It shows members of former President Donald Trump's inner circle, including his former executive assistant, testifying Trump was watching the deadly Capitol attack unfold on TV in his private dining room and still took 187 minutes to call for the violence to stop.
It's obvious the president, was derelict in his duty.
ABC News has also learned the committee will play unseen outtakes from this video recorded January 7th, the day after Trump's supporters stormed the Capitol, which will supposedly show the former president struggling to condemn the rioters and admit the election was over.
The American public need to know exactly what was happening, and we plan to run through some of those important details.
Trump continues to lash out at the committee, calling their investigation rigged and one-sided. Tonight, 2 former Trump aides are planning to testify live. Both resigned in the aftermath of January 6th and already gave taped depositions recounting their reaction to this tweet. Trump calling Vice President Mike Pence a coward for refusing to decertify the Electoral College count while rioters were chanting, "Hang Mike Pence," in the Capitol. Another key witness, Trump's White House counsel, Pat Cipollone, who in an 8-hour interview told the committee he repeatedly pressed Trump to call on his supporters to leave the Capitol.
I felt it was my obligation to continue to push for that.
These hearings are also putting pressure on Attorney General Merrick Garland to bring charges against Trump and other high-ranking officials for their attempts to overturn the 2020 election. Garland responding to that yesterday, saying no person, including the former president, is above the law. On Capitol Hill, Jay O'Brien, ABC News, Washington.
Clock right here on Denver 7.
And
this video may be graphic, may include profanity, so a warning there. We'll have full in-depth coverage on what happened during the hearing tonight for you on Denver 7 News at 10.
Today, a Colorado man was sentenced to 64 years to life on multiple charges, including manslaughter for the death of a minor who died due to fentanyl. And this morning, there was a separate sentencing hearing in Adams County for an alleged fentanyl dealer whose drugs allegedly killed a teenager. Denver 7's Colette Bordelon spoke with the victim's family, who think today's sentencing was too lenient.
Of all the challenges over the past few years,
COVID was bad. This is as bad or worse.
the pandemic has been overshadowed for one family by another epidemic.
Can't do anything about a virus. You can about people dealing death.
Outside the Adams County Courthouse, finding the words to describe Max Osterman is easy.
Intelligent, energetic, kind, loving, thoughtful.
Explaining why their son isn't here, that's what feels impossible.
Unfortunately, he's no longer with us today because of fentanyl.
Osterman died at only 18 years old in February of last year.
Watch him unzip the body bag and he was blue. Cold.
Sergio Guerra Carrillo walked into court today pleading guilty to having 4 grams of fentanyl in January of this year. He was sentenced to 3 years of probation, drug treatment, and monitored sobriety.
I am not happy with this plea deal.
And at the sentencing, Osterman's mom spoke after Broomfield police found evidence that Guerra Carrillo sold the fentanyl that killed her son.
He needs to be put away for murder.
She doesn't think her son knew what he was buying contained fentanyl, but probably knew about the risk.
My son paid a high price for his decisions.
The district attorney's office said in a statement, they concluded manslaughter and distribution could not be proven in this case, and they couldn't file either of those charges. They continued by saying Osterman's death and the circumstances around it did not factor into today's sentencing. The two are entirely separate cases, but Osterman's parents are making sure their case is heard beyond the courtroom.
That sentence today is not keeping our citizens safe.
Their lawyer saying he'll explore all options to try and get some justice in this case.
Jesus might forgive him. I won't.
But his parents say the damage has been done, and they don't want to see it happen to another family. Colette Bordelon, Denver 7.
It's been 3 years now, finally, for us to be able to come back full force. This weekend is special.
Making it back to Colorado just in time for the festival's grand return.
How your donations to Denver 7 Gives helped ensure these dragon boats sail on Slim's Lake.
We would not be here without the community that we have here in Colorado.
Plus, an iconic neon sign now has a new home.
And turns out if you offer cheap gas in Colorado, people will drive miles to fill up their tanks.
It's more cost effective for me to drive that 20 miles than it is for me to sit and fill up at $4.89, $5 a gallon in Boulder.